Thrilled to welcome Symphony 3 to the Local Government News Roundup family. If you're a local council, you know how challenging it can be to manage data across all your different systems. That's where Symphony 3 comes in. They've developed Smart Glue, a platform that integrates over 55 council systems, automating data flow without the need for manual work. It turns confusion into simplicity. With Smart Glue, councils save time, reduce errors and empower staff to focus on what really matters. Their clients see a real difference, up to 20% boost in productivity, with savings of over $30,000 per integration every year. Symphony 3 helps councils work smarter, faster and more efficiently, all while better supporting the communities they serve. A Metro Mayor under pressure to resign. A hospital protest is headed for the steps of Parliament. A monitor's verdict on a rural council. Kiama's industrial dispute resolved. A CEO takes leave as a mayor issues a warning to councillors. Escalating safety concerns at a Queensland council. Plus general manager resignation and appointment news. It's all ahead on Australia's #1 local government podcast, the Local Government News Roundup. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy, back with another curated selection of news from and about councils across Australia and beyond. The Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Heading this edition for the 17th of February 2025, Whittlesea City Council will receive a petition calling for the resignation of its mayor tomorrow night. The agenda for the council's meeting notes the receipt of a petition with 1,153 signatures stating that residents have lost faith in the ability of Councillor Aidan McClendon to carry out the duties of the mayoral office. The concerns stem from his decision to contest the recent Werribee by-election after just 9 weeks in office. The petition contends that the decision to pursue another political office so soon reflects a disregard for the trust placed in him by residents. It's called for his resignation and the election of a new mayor. A plan to take a campaign for a new hospital for Albury-Wodonga to the steps of the Victorian Parliament is back on after a meeting with the Health Minister last week failed to achieve the desired result. Indigo Mayor Sophie Price reported that Minister Mary-Ann Thomas told the meeting with the mayors of Albury and Wodonga that nothing would stop the planned redevelopment on the current site. News that the alliance of 17 councils and communities will take their case to the Parliament on the 5th of March comes as New South Wales MPs add their support for the campaign. The Border Mail reported that Benambra MP Bill Tilley believes the protest should also be taken to the steps of the New South Wales Parliament, while Albury MP Justin Clancy has committed to helping set up a meeting with the New South Wales Health Minister. 8 properties in Macrae that were impacted by a landslide have had their emergency orders lifted. Mornington Peninsula Shire Mayor Anthony Marsh announced on Friday that residents could safely return home following the installation of specialised monitoring equipment. He said additional residents will be granted temporary supervised access to collect essentials this week, and work continues with utility providers to restore services. Conditions at the remaining 11 properties are still being assessed by geotechnical engineers. The news of the residents being able to return was dampened by reports of burglaries on 8 vacant properties, an act described by Councillor Marsh as devastating and sickening. According to The Age, Councillor Marsh said it was disappointing that the state government was pointing fingers when police surveillance had been withdrawn from the temporarily abandoned homes. The final report of the Municipal Monitor for Bullocks Shire Council has been published. The former CEO of Greater Shepparton, Peter Harriott, was installed as the monitor for 7 months until the end of last year after concerns were raised with the minister about behaviour and governance standards at the council. In his report, dated the 18th of December, Mr Harriott said poor councillor behaviour was the primary issue affecting good governance and performance, noting the negative impact on staff mental health and retention. He said he had only had to call out poor behaviour at councillor briefings on 2 occasions, that some councillors don't accept they have a limited role in operational matters, and he noted a strong reluctance for change to governance processes from some councillors. Mr Harriott has made a range of recommendations to the Minister. They include ensuring awareness of avenues for reporting poor councillor and staff behaviour and reviewing processes relating to operational requests, community grants and internal audit. Mr Harriott also recommends an assessment of the efficiency of running 4 office and 5 depot sites, among other issues related to the financial sustainability of the council. The report can be accessed on the Local Government Victoria website, link in the show notes. In other news, Melbourne Victory and Mitchell Shire Council have proposed development of a high-performance elite facility in Beveridge. The $35 million plus facility would include 3 full-sized football pitches, synthetic pitches and state-of-the-art facilities for both elite athletes and the community. Construction is expected to begin in early 2026. A tragic house fire in Maryborough last week prompted Central Goldfields Mayor Grace Lavella to express gratitude to emergency service workers, council staff and the broader community for their response and support. Mayor Lavella extended deep sympathies to those affected while acknowledging the bravery and dedication of emergency responders who worked under difficult circumstances. Yarra City Council will provide at least $3.4 million in funding over the next 4 years to its 9 neighbourhood houses, with annual increases of 3.5% or CPI, whichever is greater. Mayor Stephen Jolly said the neighbourhood houses serve as vital social infrastructure, fostering community connections and well-being through their programs and activities, and that they'd seen increased demand for their services since the COVID-19 pandemic. Pyrenees Shire Council has been forced to close the Beaufort swimming pool due to unprecedented issues with its liner and water collection behind it. CEO Jim Nolan said experts were being consulted to assess the situation and determine repair options while prioritising public safety. The pool was built in 1967 and is indicative of ageing public pools across the country, with around 40% expected to reach the end of their functional lifespan by 2030, requiring significant refurbishment or replacement. And Mansfield Shire Council has voted to oppose Victoria's new Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund, which will replace the Fire Services Property Levy from July. It says the new fund will disproportionately burden regional communities and primary producers with up to triple the existing levy costs. The council is particularly concerned about the estimated $2 million additional tax burden on ratepayers and the administrative strain on local governments who must collect the taxes on behalf of the state government. Mayor Steve Raby has asked other councils to join with Mansfield in asking the state government to reconsider the tax and how it is applied. More council news in brief. Nominations for the 2025 Inspiring Women of Moyne Awards are closing today. The Moyne Shire Awards, now in their 5th year, aim to celebrate local women who make a difference in their community in the lead up to International Women's Day. A West Wimmera Shire Council audit of recycling bins has revealed a concerning increase in contamination. General recycling contamination rose from 15% to 26% between September 2023 and November last year. The council plans to address the issues through social media education campaigns and resources for residents. And the Grampians National Park and the western section of the Little Desert National Park are reopening to visitors. Horsham Council has announced that various attractions, including Mackenzie Falls, hiking trails and lookouts, are now accessible to the public. You're listening to the Local Government News Roundup, brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association with support from Symphony 3. Lots more ahead, including our global roundup, but let's look at some national stories now. In New South Wales, Kiama Council has announced the successful resolution of an Industrial Relations Commission dispute regarding the transition of Blue Haven Bonaera staff to new owners Hall and Pryor. In a statement, the council said all 3 unions are now supporting the move. The The resolution ensures staff will maintain their employment conditions and entitlements during the transition. The sale of Blue Haven is expected to be finalised by the end of the month. Upper Hunter Shire Council has called for increased financial support for rural councils, without which Deputy Mayor Pat Ryan says the council will have no choice but to increase rates or reduce services. The council has highlighted that it covers 8,000 square kilometres and spends 26% of its operating costs on roads, bridges and footpaths. Councillor Ryan said unlike metro areas, the Shire doesn't have public transport alternatives and its residents rely on safe and reliable roads to access work, school and essential services. He said now is the time for regional communities to demand their fair share with a federal election on the horizon. Some council stories making news in the press. In the Border Mail, Albury Council is tightening its invoice timeframes for airlines due to an outstanding debt from Bonza of $256,000. The council has moved to 7-day invoices, down from 30 days, and is hopeful of recovering some of the $173,000 that it's owed by Rex Airlines. From the Daily Telegraph, a Parramatta councillor has put forward a motion to expand the city's Sister City program. A report will be prepared detailing current relationships and exploring the potential to establish new alliances. Councillor Charles Chen has acknowledged that ratepayers might have concerns about the cost. Some General Manager news from New South Wales councils this week. Craig Wrightson, the General Manager of Lane Cove Council, has announced his resignation after more than 20 years of service, including 12 and a half years as General Manager. His last day in the job will be the 4th of April. Director of Corporate Services, Stephen Kludas, will step up as Acting GM to ensure continuity of leadership. And Liverpool Plains Shire Council has appointed Glenn Inglis as Acting General Manager, drawing on his extensive experience, including roles as former GM of Tamworth and Parry Shire. The permanent GM position is currently being advertised, with applications closing on the 3rd of March as the council farewells outgoing GM Gary Murphy. In Queensland, the CEO of Mackay Council, Scott Owen, has taken leave following allegations of an unofficial meeting at George Christensen's home where councillors discussed his future, according to a report from the Courier Mail. Mayor Greg Williamson has issued a warning letter to councillors about the unsanctioned meeting, which he described as very disturbing, given recent statements about transparency. Some councillors confirmed an informal gathering took place, while others declined to comment. Sources suggest tensions may be related to Mr Owen's removal of middle managers and referral of unnamed councillors to the council watchdog. Fraser Coast Regional Council is dealing with escalating safety concerns after 2 community rangers were assaulted this year, including one who was headbutted while performing their duties. Arrests have been made and charges laid in relation to both incidents. In response to growing abuse towards staff and councillors, the council has implemented enhanced security measures, including security guards, de-escalation training and facility redesigns. CEO Ken Deems said the council would work with police to ensure those responsible face consequences. He said the increase in verbal abuse and threats had left some councillors no longer feeling safe to host and attend community events alone. More news in brief. Stephen Pinnock has signed off as interim GM of Snowy Valleys Council after nearly 18 months. Director of Community and Corporate Services Jess Quilty is taking over as acting GM for 12 months or until a decision is made on the de-amalgamation proposal. An audit of Leeton Shire Council's FOGO service shows it's been highly successful in its first 6 months, with residents achieving an impressively low contamination rate of 0.3%, diverting over 750 tonnes of organic waste from landfill. Meander Valley Council in Tasmania has welcomed a new councillor. Christine Cronshaw took the declaration of office earlier this month and becomes the newest member of the council after the resignation of Deborah White last month. And Townsville Council crews have filled more than 1,600 potholes since the record-breaking rain of recent weeks. Acting Mayor Anne-Marie Graney also warned of challenging mowing conditions, which meant crews are not currently driving heavy mowers onto wet and soft grassy areas. Back to Tasmania, Steve McQueenie has been elected to Tasman Council in a by-election conducted to fill a vacancy created by Jim Sharman's resignation in November. The by-election was necessary as there were no remaining unsuccessful candidates from the last general election. The cost of constructing a new tip in Meander Valley has led to a council decision to redirect landfill waste as its two local sites near capacity. The council has received a report on its options, which put the cost and risk of building a new landfill facility at much higher than transporting waste to a regional facility. The lifespan cost of a new facility was estimated to be $475 million. The report noted a new landfill facility could not be constructed and managed within the council's existing resource levels, and that the long-term future of landfill needs for the state will require the involvement of all Tasmanian councils, the Tasmanian Waste and Resource Recovery Board, and the use of revenue being collected from the Tasmanian Government's landfill levy. In South Australia, a soft plastics recycling trial is back as a pilot program in the cities of Adelaide, Charles Sturt and Port Adelaide Enfield. After a successful first phase, residents can place soft plastics in special orange bags inside their yellow recycling bins. The orange bags are themselves made with 100% recycled content. The councils are working with the Central Adelaide Waste and Recycling Authority on the scheme. ABC News has produced a feature report on a campaign by 23 regional councils in South Australia seeking urgent funding to address a critical childcare shortage. The shortage is particularly severe in Grey, the country's fourth largest federal electorate, covering 92.4% of the state. The electorate has the worst childcare accessibility in the country, according to a 2022 Mitchell Institute study, and the shortage is preventing skilled professionals from returning to work. WA's City of Stirling is proposing new local laws to combat abandoned shopping trolleys by requiring retailers to take more proactive measures and introducing tougher penalties for non-compliance. The proposed shopping trolleys local law would replace a 2009 law and would see the city collect abandoned shopping trolleys from public areas and charge retailers a fee. It's open for public feedback until the 13th of March and will be considered at the city's May council meeting. And the town of Bassendean has secured commitments of $5.2 million in federal and state funding to transform one of its most popular sporting reserves into a modern multi-use sporting hub. The redevelopment of Jubilee Reserve will include major upgrades to facilities and new unisex change rooms to support growing female participation in sports. The funding is contingent on both the Albanese and Cook governments being re-elected at the upcoming federal and state elections. Now let's head abroad and see what's making news in local government circles. In the UK, two councillors in their 70s will find out this week if they've breached code of conduct provisions after a physical altercation at a parish council meeting last year. The incident in Middleton St George resulted in scratches, bleeding, broken glasses and a bruised finger, according to a report from The Guardian. Councillor David Darling is accused of aggressively questioning Councillor Colin Peace, and the situation escalated when Peace called Darling a prat. Darlington Borough Council's Standards Committee has been investigating the incident, and its report is due to be discussed at a meeting this week. Essex County Council is considering equipping librarians with body-worn cameras at one of its 74 libraries to address rising incidents of antisocial behaviour. Incidents at Witham Library involving groups of teenagers have already led to the council hiring a private security guard, according to BBC News. The council has reported similar issues at another library where new doors are being installed to combat the problem. Also from the BBC, news that Wirral Council, which is facing potential bankruptcy, has hired two debt collection firms to recover £22 million in unpaid council tax, benefits, overpayments and parking fines. The move will cost the Merseyside Council £1.2 million over the next 3 years. The council's debt has increased significantly from the previous year, with unpaid council tax and business rates rising from £15.5 million to £23.9 million. Let's go to the US. Chicago's Inspector General has urged the City Council to strengthen its ethics ordinances to prevent the city's law department from obstructing investigations, particularly those that could embarrass city leaders or have political consequences. In a 17-page letter, Deborah Witzberg specifically criticised the Law Department's practices of withholding documents, demanding to attend investigative interviews and refusing to enforce subpoenas without additional probe information. Worcester City Council in Massachusetts has voted to declare itself a sanctuary city for the transgender community. 9 council members supported a resolution that prevents city resources from being used to detain people seeking gender-affirming care. 2 opposing members were concerned the city could lose federal funding as a result of the decision. Worcester follows other US cities like Sacramento, California, and Ithaca, New York, to adopt a similar measure amid concerns about federal recognition of gender identity. The Mayor of Madison, Wisconsin, has announced ambitious new housing goals, including the creation of 15,000 new homes by 2030, with 25% designated as affordable housing. Mayor Satya Rhodes Conway has also launched an innovative interactive housing tracker for the public to monitor progress. And in Huntsville, Alabama, the city's Animal Services Unit has been spreading love this Valentine's season with $14 adoption fees for adult pets and a drive-through pet food pantry event to support pet owners facing food insecurity. The city hopes the initiative will help to find homes for shelter animals and provide assistance to community members who need help caring for their pets. In Canada, the cities of Waterloo, Cambridge and Kitchener have renewed their Neuron Mobility Agreement for 2025, bringing back shared e-scooters and e-bikes in April, plus new accessible vehicles. The new accessible tricycles will launch later this year, an initiative that's among Canada's first private shared micro-mobility programs offering accessible options. Quebec City is on the lookout for opportunities to create social and affordable housing and is recommending a $4.5 million investment for the acquisition of land for non-profit housing projects. The investment is from a land reserve which has been established to allow nimble purchases for social and affordable housing purposes. In New Zealand, a West Coast Regional Council contractor has been dismissed after telling Westland Mayor Helen Lash to behave like an adult during a heated exchange at a committee meeting about work timelines. The press reported the incident occurred when Governance Advisor Freya Love became frustrated with Mayor Lash's repeated requests for clarification about project dates, leading to Chief Executive Darryl Liu apologising to the Mayor and terminating Love's contract. And finally, it's a case of gone today, back tomorrow for a New Zealand city. Invercargill City Council humorously called out Google Maps earlier this week for making their city difficult to find, requiring multiple zooms to appear, while smaller nearby towns like Bluff and Gore were immediately visible. The council playfully suggested referring to Invercargill as that place near Bluff and joked about Google trying to gatekeep their paradise while reaching out to the tech giant for an explanation. Pleasingly, within a day of raising the concerns, the problem was resolved. In a statement, a Google spokesperson told Stuff that after being alerted to the issue, the company took immediate steps to rectify the situation and get Invercargill back. Nice to end on a happy note. That's the latest from the Local Government News Roundup, edition number 428, recorded on the 17th of February 2025. Any comments or feedback and story suggestions can be sent to lgnews@gmail.com. You can find out more information about this episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, your councillor support network, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. I'm grateful to the many of you who help make the podcast possible by supporting us through a monthly subscription. Support starts at $3 per month, less than $5 Australian, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. You'll find the details on the website or in your podcast player. The Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening, and bye for now. A councillor's commitment to community doesn't stop when their time as an elected representative ends. In recognition of this and to strengthen its ongoing support for former councillors, the VLGA has launched an alumni program open to anyone who has held an elected position in local government. By becoming a VLGA alumnus, former councillors will have access to VLGA programs and special alumni networking events, as well as the opportunity to participate in forums and share key learnings and insights to inform sector advocacy. You'll be kept up to date on local government news and be able to participate in VLGA events and professional development opportunities at a special VLGA alumni member rate. To find out more about this exciting opportunity, visit www.vlga.org.au.